Good morning, gamers. Welcome to another BRAP rant. I haven't done a rant in I think like 2 weeks. I think maybe longer. I don't know. I don't remember, but I know it's been a couple weeks since I last did a BRAP rant, and so wanted to talk about a couple things this wonderful morning. Want to talk to you about really ask the question: Is Jim Ryan hurting the PlayStation brand? And this is um, I'm raising this question based on more of the PlayStation first party games coming to PC under his leadership. And does this move hurt the PlayStation brand? I say no. I'm going to tell you why it does not. And E3 2021, at least in the physical sense, has been canceled. So go ahead and rant about the future of E3. But let's go ahead and kick this rant off officially right now. I love that intro. Literally bobbing my head back and forth every time that intro plays. I think my wife even walked in one time when I was doing that. She looked at me. She's like, "What are you doing? What are we doing here, people?" All right. All right. So, I was kind of doing some thinking over the last 48 hours. What's up, Perk? What's up, Mooch? Thank you, everyone, for catching this impromptu rant. I know it was kind of really at the last minute here that I decided to do this. So no notice whatsoever, but wanted to get the show in before a couple other shows go live this afternoon. One, the first being MNC in the mornings with Mooch and Crap. Definitely check out those two gentlemen. They go live, I think at 11:45, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Mooch is in the live chat. He can confirm that, but I believe it is 11:45 in the morning. And then shortly after that is the Iron Lords podcast on Sunday. So, all right. So we talked about this on Crossfire this past Friday, 48 hours ago to be exact. And then we also spoke about this on this week's BRAP. If you get a chance to check out this week's episode of BRAP, definitely want to head down to the video section and pull that video up, that podcast, because it was a great show and very insightful. We had Sincere from Gold Chain Gamers, and we had none other than Mr. Babbitt himself from the Trophy Room podcast discussing this very topic. But I'm here to tell you that no, under Jim Ryan's leadership and him bringing more first party PlayStation games to PC, that this is not going to hurt the PlayStation brand. What's up, Danny JLB? By the way, everyone, please, if you haven't done so, here we go. Share the link of the live chat. Yes, Mooch, 11:45 Eastern time. I was right. So I was right. I was spot on. But I wanted to make sure because most shows don't start at 11:45. So, but yes, please, after this rant, head over to MNC, the MNC show, Mooch and Crap. And by the way, Mooch, Crossfire certainly lived up to its name, Crossfire, this past Friday. What a great show! What a great show! Always an honor to be part of that amazing panel show. All right, so we got some comments coming in already about Jim Ryan. So as we know, Jim Ryan mentioned that revealed that Days Gone, which is a first-party Sony exclusive, is basically so it's, if you're not familiar with Days Gone, it's actually one of those Sony titles, believe it or not. It's one of those games that I think it's like low 70s Metacritic. At the time it was reviewed, it was a buggy mess. So I actually did not play the game upon release because it had some performance issues, some really significant performance issues, which is kind of rare for Sony if you think about it, because Sony games tend to, for the most part, they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they tend to come out pretty well polished per se. And so Days Gone release had a lot of bugs. Super ambitious titles. Actually, believe it or not, for those who don't know, and as Mooch says, BRAP is full of useful or maybe unuseful trivia knowledge. Days Gone is Sony Ben Studio or Ben Studios' first AAA game since Siphon Filter on the PlayStation 1. So this is their first AAA project in more than a decade. Clearly more than a decade, if you think about the time frame release of PlayStation 1. But Siphon Filter was this group's studio's last AAA game. So super ambitious title, open world. Hats off to them, because I thought after they addressed some of the performance issues, the game was actually pretty good. A little long-winded to tooth at times. You know, I thought that the game probably could have wrapped up a lot sooner than it did. But there's enough there for me to want to come back and play the sequel to Days Gone. So anyhow, that game's coming to PC. Other PlayStation games have come to PC. More recently, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, which is not an IP owned by PlayStation, but is exclusive on the PlayStation 4, was also made its way to PC. All right, I had to drink a cup of coffee. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Aziza said, I think Jim Ryan is possibly a hard businessman. That could be a good thing. I've known a few in my life. I don't feel he's a sleazy salesman like Phil Spencer. Honest thoughts. Well, I don't necessarily, I appreciate that point of view. I don't think Phil Spencer's sleazy per se. But look, these, like we talked about this on Crossfire this past Friday. Look, these are businessmen. The end goal for them is to make money. That's it. To make the shareholders happy, to increase revenue. And let's also remember, revenue doesn't always equal profit, by the way. That tends to be something that's misconstrued at times. Oh, they're making $80 million in revenue. Okay, well, what does that translate into in terms of profit? Because that's the ultimate number. Profitability. Dizza Digital says Jim Ryan is hurting Sony. Unlike Frost Spencer, he gives us games. I think he meant to say is not. That is not yet hurting Sony. Yeah. I don't agree. I wouldn't say Phil Spencer is a fraud. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Phil is a great visionary in the gaming industry. Game Pass is kind of his baby. Breaking down, that walled garden approach. But my one criticism of Phil is I don't necessarily think that maybe he's the best product manager per se. And I say that given the example of some of the titles that have been released recently, and what we saw with Halo Infinite, which is their baby, and who knows how that even was greenlit to be shown this past summer. But anyhow, but you have to give hats off to him for creating Game Pass, which is a great, which presents itself as a great service for gamers for gamers out there. And then obviously the acquisitions to beef up Microsoft first party studios with some major acquisitions, Bethesda being the most recent. So but look, a lot of people, I should say a lot, there were some people out there that just reacted I think very maybe in anger, disappointment that that more games, PlayStation games, more specifically PlayStation exclusive first-party games, will be coming to PC, and that would somehow water down the brand or hurt the brand. Now, I am in the camp that says no, that this will not hurt the PlayStation brand, and let me tell you why. Two things. Well, first, PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation console is a console. Its primary competitors and only competitors in the console space are Nintendo and Xbox. PC is not a console platform. PC is an open platform. PC does not compete for the mind share, for the dollars per se, of console gamers. Two different gaming Two different gaming demographics. I can't even talk today. Much like mobile. Mobile's a different beast. Mobile's a different gaming demographic. Sure, mobile will allow you to play gaming content, but it is not the same group of individuals who buy consoles, who buy PC, etc. Sure, is there some crossover? Is there some bleed over? Absolutely. I'm an example of that. I own a PC rig. I own an Xbox Series X. I own a PlayStation 5. I own a Nintendo Switch. I have gamed on mobile in the past. It's not something I particularly care to do, but I have done it. And there's other people that I know that um there's other games that are other games. There's other examples of individuals I know. Mooch, who's in the live chat right now, is in the same camp. He is someone who owns a PC, a gaming rig. He owns an Xbox Series X. He owns a Nintendo Switch. He owns a PlayStation 5. He's we're kind of the exception of the rule per se. But I don't think there's enough of us out there. And assuming that, let's say, PlayStation first party content comes to even PC day and date, I don't necessarily seeing people that are used to spending $500 on a console where there's this mass exodus of those people going to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a PC. Now, PC gaming at the level that like Mooch and I are PC gaming, at the level that you need to be to play some of these games, is an enthusiast platform per se. And I say enthusiast because of the financial investment that you're making to get to that platform. Just like a lot of us are console enthusiasts in the sense that we get these games or these consoles day and date, $500 day one. Xbox Series X, 4K, 120 megahertz. Well, you know what that means. If you don't have a TV that can display 4K 120, you need to upgrade. And those TVs are going to cost you at least $1,000. I just recently upgraded. Quick story. I wanted to get the I wanted to get the LG OLED C10 65-inch TV, which is about a little bit over $2,000. I had a 55-inch TCL 4K. I was listening to my man King David. He's like, you got to step the TCL game up. So I did. Stepped it up. But the wife was kind of like, nah, you're not spending $2,000 on a TV. That's not happening. And I'm like, I could have gotten it. But, happy wife, happy life, as they say. So there was a compromise made. Compromise? Okay, in a relationship. Often relationships are built on compromises, but in the sense that, it's kind of give and take. But anyhow, so I got a Vizio Quantum P series. Wanted the Quantum X or the X, but that was sold out. The Quantum P is kind of like the next best thing. Ratings.com gave it one of the best HDR TVs for gaming. The HDR pops in the TV much more than my TCL for sure. And look, for $1,000 65-inch TV, it's it's something that the wife was on board with, so I pulled the trigger. But again, see, that's look, the Series X $500, the TV $1,000, so you're looking at a $1,500 investment. So in console gaming, now not all console gamers are going to do that. The enthusiasts will. But I think in order to, like, how do we quantify Sony's first party games going to PC? And let's assume, for argument's sake, say they go first party day and date, meaning releases on PlayStation 5 on, I'm going to use today's date, February 28th. Also releases on PC February 28th. It would only hurt the brand if there was this mass exodus of console gamers going to PC. That's not going to happen. And I tell you why it's not going to happen. Because if most, well, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen 100% across the board. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to get some bleed. You're going to get some bleed, some crossover. You will get some people that are going to say, you know what, Xbox Series X games or Xbox games are day and date on PC. Now Sony games are day and date on PC. I'm going to go build a PC rig. I totally get that argument. There's going to be some people that do that, but it's not going to be enough. You would need this mass exodus where there's enough people moving to PC to hurt the PlayStation brand. That's just not going to happen. Not going to happen. People are bought into the console ecosystem of the PlayStation brand, their friends list. That's a big thing. People talk about oh, I'm on this console because my friends are here. But I don't, I see a lot of people saying, if you look on the Twitters, and maybe the Twitters I shouldn't refer to a lot, but at least because the Twitters is really a small bubble, an echo chamber, if you will, of gamers. What's up, Ice Cream Gaming? So I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so you see people talk about, oh well, I game on platform A or B because my friends list, my friends are here. That's a big thing. When you have that digital library, you're invested heavily in that ecosystem. It's why a lot of people don't jump from Apple to Android per se. There isn't this mass exodus of people going from Android to Apple and vice versa. Why? Because a lot of them are invested in the ecosystem, digitally speaking, invested. And on the consoles, friends, digital content, things like that. So while there might be some people moving from PlayStation to PC, or from Xbox to PC, there isn't going to be this mass exodus where it somehow diminishes the brand or hurts the brand per se. You're still going to have people that are going to want gaming consoles. You're still going to look, people don't want to sit in a chair behind a monitor and game. Not all people want to do that. People want to sit and they want to sit on their comfortable couch. Maybe they got this nice recliner that's super comfortable. It's got a nice cup holder. They can put their favorite drink in there, whether it's a adult beverage or some orange juice, whatever the case is. They could sit down in their recliner, kick their feet up in front of their 65-inch OLED and play some video games. That's the lifestyle that many console gamers like and enjoy. So not a lot of people are going to leave that because they're not going to want to spend $300 on a chair, a PC chair, or a racing chair, as they call it, I think. They're going to want that. Because let me tell you, if you're gaming on PC a lot, let me tell you, a good chair is key. You need that good lumbar support, or else you're going to have some issues. Going to have back problems. Sir Gallant says, I would really want Dreams to release on PC next. You know what? That's it's interesting. Dreams is one of the games that I actually think would really benefit from the PC, from a PC release, just given the community that's on PC. We see some of the mods that that mods put together, with some games, PC games. Counter-Strike was born out of, I forget now, Half-Life? I don't remember. Such a long time ago. Anyhow. Ice Cream says, BRAP, I don't care if PlayStation games go to PC. I don't get to this console war at all. Yeah, I would agree. I don't care either. Casual says, you don't need a gaming chair to game on PC, just a very good desk chair. Yes, but a very good desk chair, Casual, is going to cost you money, though. And at that point, I've always made the argument, if you're going to spend a good chair, it's going to at least be north of $80, at least. If you think about, the support, the back support, I spent about $100 I kind of went cheap, and I kind of regret it because I have a PC chair I spent about $150 on. I mean, it's kind of comfortable, but probably not as comfortable as if clearly if I had spent, like 250, 300, which I probably should have done. But anyhow, I got it because at that point I'd already spent close to at that point I'd already spent close to $2,000 on my PC rig at the time. So that's an investment I can always go back to another day. But again, this idea of Jim Ryan hurting the brand. Look, it's more money. It's more money. And some of the some people, not all, some people who feel like, oh, this is, taking away exclusives. Some of it is console war driven. It's oh, well, it's for so many years I've hammered home the point of Xbox has no games and you got no exclusives and this and that. Well, Xbox still had exclusives. They still had console exclusives. And again, this goes back to my original point. What space does the PlayStation console compete in? The console market. The market is split into 3 sectors, or 4 actually: VR, mobile, PC, and console. And within that console market, that's clearly defined, Sony competes with Nintendo, Nintendo competes with Xbox, they all compete with each other. And I would agree with that argument, that sentiment, that Sony or Xbox have no exclusives if they put their games on their competitors. And again, who are their competitors? The competitors in the console space. PC is not a competitor to console, never has been. And for the reasons I listed, it's an open platform. And people, I've had people say, oh, what about Netflix? Imagine if The Mandalorian was on Netflix. Well, it's not really an apples to apples comparison. I mean, Disney and Netflix are on all devices. So it behooves them to lock exclusive content in their subscription model because they're on all the platforms. And perhaps this is where the industry is pivoting to, in a sense, that subscription model, or maybe a hybrid of console subscriptions, something like that. Maybe we get to a day where we don't need hardware. That could happen. I don't think we're anywhere close to that, but maybe down the road, that could happen. Imagine where PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox are all applications, web applications on your TV. Someone in the live chat says, he feels that Andrew House, Jack Trent, and Sean seem to be more in touch with gamers. I don't necessarily agree with that. Jim is not new to PlayStation. He made the PlayStation very successful in Europe, and kind of really helped build that market out for Sony. I look, the jury's still out on Jim in terms of his leadership at PlayStation, because this is his first console. But if the ultimate, the end game for any console, see, the console is a means to an end, and that end game is content. And given the launch of the PlayStation 5 in the games, see, I judge leadership by content at the end of the day. Sure, they may say wonky things or crazy stuff in the media and may contradict themselves, and we could talk about those things, as we should, because especially podcasters, because that's what we do. We talk about topics. But the ultimate gauge, though, the ultimate measuring stick is content. And the launch of the PlayStation 5, look, they have come out swinging. Think about the content you can play right now on PlayStation 5 that you can't play on any other console platform. Demon Souls, Miles Morales. You have, what was the other game? The Pathless. You have Kena coming out this year. You have Deathloop coming out this year. Jim Ryan in a recent GQ article pretty much confirmed that Horizon is going to be available this year. We know that GT7 has been pushed back. God of War was teased for 2021, although I'm not entirely convinced that game's going to come out in 2021. I could be wrong. That could be something they save for E3 and then say, hey, at E3 this year, which we'll talk about E3, or they won't be at E3. Anyhow, some announcement in the summertime. Leave it at that. Maybe they drop God of War on us. First look, gameplay, that kind of thing, and maybe like November release date or whatever the case is. So, and then what's the game by Housemarque now? I'm drawing a blank. Is it Eternal? No, it's not Eternal. Now I need to look this up because this is bothering me. Returnal. I said Eternal. It's Returnal. Housemarque's game, Returnal, exclusive. So they have a lot of great content coming out year one release on the PlayStation. And that's under his leadership. So, I mean, this is thank you, T-Rock. T-Rock said, yeah. Hey, T-Rock, I need to ask you, sir, if you're up for running some dungeons on Bloodborne today, maybe after the BRAP Rant, if you have some time. Yeah, T-Rock. T-Rock's been great. He's been running. Big shout out to T-Rock, by the way. He's been running the dungeons with me and helped me with the platinum in Bloodborne. So yeah, though, let me know if you're available, T-Rock. Maybe after the BRAP Rant, which I'm going to be wrapping up here shortly. So at least from my perspective, the work that he's done has been good. I mean, if we're using games, which games should be the ultimate benchmark anyway, not whether something's already in A2 or who's got more teraflops. None of that means anything without good content. Get the most powerful machine in the world. You don't have good games, it means doo-doo. It means mierda. Nothing. Subtalis. So kind of tie all this together. I don't think, again, he's not hurting the brand. I don't, in my opinion, I don't see him hurting the brand. Again, in my opinion. And again, for the reasons I mentioned, I don't see this mass exodus leaving PlayStation to go to PC. He and Microsoft, they are trying to get people who had no interest in buying a PlayStation or Xbox console to buy their games. And they're going to make money off of it. And that's the end game for these companies, money. Now, if the quality of content starts diminishing on PlayStation, then yeah, we're going to have a different conversation, Mr. Jim Ryan, sir, as we have been with Xbox for the last couple of years. Because, frankly, Microsoft, that's an area of improvement. We all know this, and I'm not going to get to that rabbit hole because I've probably beat that horse to death. What's up, OBM? So, but again, I don't think it hurts. And at the end of the day, too, I'll say this: if the ultimate, as I mentioned earlier, the plastic is a means to an end, and that end is great content. And if you're getting great gaming content from PlayStation still, and they're giving you those bangers, and they're going to double down on that, by the way. They're going to double down that PlayStation is the place to play great AAA experiences that are going to wow you that you can't find anywhere else. And makes sense because that's kind of been their brand for a very long time. And they're going to go back into the treasure trove of old games this generation. Games we haven't seen in quite some time, much like Hollywood did. They're going to bring back some great titles. They're going to tug at that nostalgia that gamers have in their hearts for certain games like Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, those games are going to come, and those kinds of games are going to come, and they're going to people are going to forget Jim Ryan bringing. Most people should forget at least Jim Ryan bringing first party games to PC. Now, I do think if you were to ask me, Brap, do you think Sony games will go day and date? Yeah, possibly on PC. I could see that. I could see that. If the development isn't impacted by having to factor in PC, because then yeah, maybe they could do that. And look, I mean, game development is the cost of game development is increasing too. And so, I mean, even from a business sense, it's like, if I say to you, you've made in profit $1,000 on selling this widget, right? But if you sell this widget on within another ecosystem that you don't compete with, where there could be some appeal because the same behaviors are taking place, and the example of this behavior would be gaming, right? Because PC gamers are gaming. You've made 1,000 on your primary platform ecosystem. You made $1,000 in profits selling that widget. If you go here, though, you can make an additional $700. Who wouldn't take the additional money? None of us here. Like, what are we doing, people? Like, no one would say no to more money. Nobody would. And these companies damn sure won't either. They're going to go where the money is. They got to keep the lights on. They got to make those games. OBM says if you want to grow, you have to be accessible beyond consoles in the future. Console market isn't growing while gaming is. And that's a great point, OBM. Even Sony, I think it was a Sony CEO said that console gaming is niche, and it is. I mean, console gaming isn't the base of individuals isn't growing. So how do you grow? How do you grow? How do you reach more gamers that have different tastes? You diversify. Sony's already involved in mobile. They may the PlayStation brand per se may not be involved in mobile, but they are publishing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they are publishing content on the Nintendo Switch too. I mean, look at VR. VR is a different market. That's why Sony's into it. But it's not easy convincing people who have never owned a console or who just maybe focus on mobile gaming and that's or just PC. It's very hard to convince a lot of those people to make the switch, to buy a $500 platform. And I say this to people: how do you convince someone who's never and the Wii, by the way, is an anomaly here because the Wii did things that the console's never done, and it just really had a lot of crossover appeal. Like I knew people who never owned a gaming console who got like the Wii because of Wii Sports. Like I would walk into a bar, and I'll never forget this. I always share this story. And I knew like gaming had hit this weird place, not weird place, but Nintendo had done something that most gaming consoles had not done. Had really transcended itself and gotten people who had never bought a gaming console to buy one. It was their lightning in the bottle moment. And you see what happened with the Wii U. It failed to recapture the magic of the Wii, but in part the Wii, because it was so accessible, and they included Wii Sports. People, you look at I think the software attachment rates were pretty low for the Wii, if I'm not mistaken. If you compare it to like the Xbox and PlayStation 3, that's ultimately software attachment rates is a great barometer in terms of usage, right? But I remember I'd go to a bar for happy hour and they'd have like Wii Sports night. And that was interesting, watching drunk people trying to play Wii Sports. Bars had that. It was a thing. It's a cultural phenomenon. Um, but it's challenging to get people who have had no interest in a console to buy that console. You know, that's it's and I'm not saying it's impossible. You're always going to have people at some entry level point, or maybe some individuals who maybe were on another platform exclusively, but made the switch to go to another platform, something like that, right? But it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get the new people into the door who have never been interested in gaming. It's not easy to do. It can be done, but it's not easy. So what's the easiest way to reach more people? You know, investments in mobile, which Sony's already done, Microsoft's doing, Nintendo's doing, investments in VR. I mean, the you know, I think that a lot of people have always assumed that gaming has been that consoles, video game consoles, have been the center of the gaming universe. And for some time they probably were. But that's changing now. It's changing because technology's changed. It's changing because more people are gaming on PC. It's changing because mobile's now in the forefront. You know, the mobile market in Japan is the dominant force right now, not consoles. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that holds true in other parts of Asia, China, Korea, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to go to E3 real quick, E3 2021. By the way, great conversations in the live chat, as always, during these BRAP rants. So it looks like I need to pull up this article here. Give me a sec here. All right. So this just happened less than 24 hours ago. It's been revealed, and not surprisingly here, I think with the pandemic and everything, you know, where people are still getting vaccinated, it's not really safe per se to have these big events. I get that. I totally get that. I'm not surprised by this, but um, according to some documentation, according to the city of Los Angeles, um, by the Board of Convention and Tourism Development Commission, that E3 2020 is essentially canceled as a live event. So, look, I don't think any of us were expecting. I don't think any of us were expecting E3 to happen this year, at least in a live form, right? First of all, I want to big shout out to the Ash and Luca, by the way, who I've had the pleasure of podcasting with twice this week. It's great, Luca. I appreciate the Dark Souls, Demon Souls podcast that you had on your channel. But and then Luca was on Crossfire yesterday. Luca with a $5 super chat says Jim Judas is carrying Ryan. Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, I love that. Thank you for the super chat again, Luca. We got Zio with a $5 super chat says I recently stopped caring about console wars. Realized engaging in that is like idiots dancing to the corporate overlords. LOL. All right. So E3, according to documentation by the Los Angeles City Convention and Tourism Development Commission, E3 2021, any live event is essentially canceled. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. I don't think that's surprised. But what does this mean for E3? Is E3 doomed? Is E3 doomed? Because we saw last summer that you can have an event, and Nintendo's been doing this for a while. You don't need to be at E3 anymore. Sony wasn't planning on being there. Sony's, from my understanding and speaking to our good buddy Kronos, who is actually a PlayStation brand retail rep for Sony PlayStation. He had disclosed on a BRAP a couple months ago about what Sony had in store for the PlayStation 5, and they were planning to hit things like what is it? Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank here? PAX. They're planning on doing PAX, doing other smaller events like that to get the PlayStation in the hands of gamers, consumers, as opposed to something like E3 that, yeah, it's open to consumers, but it's kind of limited per se. Um, so E3 is in an interesting situation here because they do have a live event, and Reggie Fils-Aimé, former head of Nintendo, he said that he really wasn't impressed what E3 has kind of laid out in terms of a digital event, and the challenge that E3 is going to have. And I thought Jeff Keighley did a great job with his summer games event, or summer of games, whatever it's called. I forget the name. I think it's still going on, but they did like a thing where like people could like try games, and that's what E3's got to figure out. How do we get content? Because they could get content in the hands of media. That's probably not an issue. But I think one of the things that when they started opening up to the public, one of the things that really attracted gamers to E3 was that, yeah, I can play these games, get these big announcements, blah, 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 blah. You get these private viewings. Like E3 needs to figure out how to do that digitally. And they can. And that's the thing. One thing that I've learned, and this kind of goes back to the work that I do in BRAP's regular life. Trust me, the BRAP channel is not enough to sustain BRAP and family. Maybe one day it will be. So if you haven't done so, subscribe, hit that like button. One of the things I've realized in talent acquisition, which is the field that I'm in, and I've noticed this with just networking opportunities. I've been doing one of the things I've been more involved in from a TA perspective is campus recruiting. So I just did an event at Penn State, but it was virtual, right? They're not doing any in-person fairs right now or networking opportunities with students. But one of the things, the benefits of digital is that you reach so many more people now. And this is that opportunity for E3 to really kind of expand upon the boundaries that Los Angeles placed. Like you'd have to go out to LA, you'd have to, go out and you'd have to go out and, book a ticket, get a place to stay, and I was actually supposed to go to E3 2020 last year. I had my airfare booked. It was me and a lot of us, actually. Some of the BRAP crew, B Money, Eric Jackson, Gaming Forte, Mr. Boomstick. Who else? Ains from Season Gaming. The Iron Lords. We're actually all supposed to stay in the same house, believe it or not, in LA. So I had everything booked, but that's an investment. I mean, it was probably close to $1,000, I think, to go. I don't remember, but this is an opportunity for them to touch people who have always just kind of watched E3 from from outside of LA, not physically speaking, right, per se. This is an opportunity for them to get hands in gamers, to make this more inclusive to consumers. They got to figure, if they don't figure this out, thank you, Casual, Summer Game Fest. That's what it was. Jeff Keighley's going to take their lunch money with Summer Game Fest. Keighley totally going to do it. You watch. Keyup901 says, E3 is dead. These companies can brand themselves online and make their own online events. Everyone is online, easy and simple, and cost savings. That's a great point. I mean, you don't have to spend the money, the millions and I'm going to do the rock in millions to get your to get your name out, to get your brand out anymore. You don't have to do that. Nintendo has shown us this for years now. What's up, JD Gamer? JD Gamer, the $5 super chat says, sorry to disagree, but I think Summer of Games was a disjointed disaster with no central theme and unrealized potential. It's overpromised. Yeah, you know what? That's actually a great point, JD. I'm glad you brought that up because, because it did feel a little disjointed. I'll say that. It certainly did. I think a lot of us were complaining about kind of the disjointed nature. We didn't know when games are going to be shown, and yeah, I agree with that. It's a great point, but it did show the potential of life without E3. I think. Now, whether that potential is realized, different story. But I do think Jeff is probably headed in the right direction. This is year one. I think year two, and you can probably bet that summer of games is going to be a thing again. But E3's got to figure this out, though. This is the second year they're not going to physically have a presence. We know that the big players have left Sony, Nintendo. Microsoft is really kind of the last. One Bad Mother says, Jeff Grubb said it looks like Microsoft is the last domino. Microsoft looks like they're pulling out. Microsoft leaves. Who else is there? And Microsoft not even at the their E3 event per se. If I'm not mistaken, they're at the Microsoft Theater, which is I think across the street from the convention center. OBM says E3 is better for consumers, but the corporations would like to have more control over when they showed things. Yes, I would agree with that, E3. I think that's what Sony was kind of saying too. But I think OBM, this is the opportunity for them to reach consumers. This opportunity to say, hey, you know what, guys? Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, we have all these people. And I don't know how you get a database of people, but they probably need to show they need to quantify some kind of number of this many people are going to be on the, watching your show, digitally, and they're signing up, and they can play these games. They sign up the E3 website, and they register for opportunities to play, whatever the case is, or maybe they don't even say, hey, you know what, yeah, we have a link. We'll provide a link to your online store, whatever the case is, where they can go out and try these games, something like that. There's a part of me that because and even I think this is probably even more amplified for me because I was supposed to go to E3, and I'd like to experience at least one E3, and maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe PAX is probably the best way for me to go now. But I'd like to see E3 stick around because it's been such a big part of gaming for me, and that's just me. But we'll see. We'll see. I think they have a lot to figure out for sure. Got JD again with the $5 super chat again. Thank you, JD. He says E3 can survive, but only if it makes drastic changes. For instance, team up with Kronos Group. The digital event should be over weeks, not days. It's a great point, JD. Thank you. Somebody in the live chat says E3 needs to let demos be played from home. I agree with that because somebody's going to do that, and that could be the knockout. Why E3 when they're alienating consumers from playing demos, right? Why what's the point then? If it's not a physical convention per se, this is the pandemic is really. I'm not going to say the pandemic is kind of the knockout blow because obviously they were having some issues. They lost some big supporters, and Sony, Nintendo being there, those are some of the marquee names. There's other big publishers that are still there, but EA's not physically there per se. They're there, but they kind of do their own thing. Talking about Nintendo, the question is, do these clearly these console manufacturers, publishers don't necessarily need E3 per se, and they can get games to they can do digital. They can do private, digital, Teams calls, I guess, with journalists. I'm using Teams as an example, but there's probably a way for them to, to be able to reach people, without having people physically present, is what I'm saying. Which we know they can do. It's going to be interesting how this plays out. It's going to be interesting. Selfishly speaking, I don't want to see E3 go away because I want to be able to attend at least a Microsoft press event. That Sony ship sales for me, so I missed that. But at the very least, we'll see. But if Microsoft pulls out too, if they leave, it's like they could be done. They could be done, maybe. And then there's other things like I mentioned PAX. Like PAX is very accessible for gamers. All right, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this BRAP rant. I want to thank everyone for stopping by, hanging out with me this morning. This is very impromptu, by the way. T-Rock 40, I don't know if you're in the live chat, but if you are, let me know if you're up for some Bloodborne, the road to the platinum. Bloodborne's so good. I think I probably it's my second playthrough with, technically my third playthrough now because I'm in New Game Plus, but for those you know, I picked up Bloodborne shortly after release, 2015, played a little bit, then stopped playing it, then upgraded my PS4 Pro, and then lost my save file, started playing it again recently, stopped playing it, and then picked it up, beat it, and now I'm in New Game Plus, going for the platinum. So great game, but I probably spent 65 hours so far. Actually, maybe more. Tal said Tal should beat Demon Souls. Nice. Demon Souls, great game, by the way. Great game. I mean, hats off to Blue Point. That remake, woo! It's good. I think it's only a matter of time before Sony makes it official that Blue Point will be part of Sony Studios, PlayStation Studios. So, again, I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me this morning for this impromptu BRAP rant, and I want to thank everyone I think those who hung out, took time away to hang out with me, and super chats. Appreciate all that. But yeah, if you haven't done so, check out this past Wednesday's BRAP. We'll be back again this coming Wednesday, which is crazy. March is tomorrow. So March 3rd will be the first BRAP for the month of March. Of course it would be, right? Because it's March 3rd. But yeah, we'll be back 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Oh, hold on, one more. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, so we'll be back this Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't done so, check out this last week's BRAP rant. We had, we have Sincere from Gold Chain Gamers on, and we had Mr. Badbit from the Trophy Room Podcast as well. So definitely want to check out that podcast if you haven't done so already. And let's see what's up next. If you are up to listen to some more podcasting or gaming podcasts, I should say, the MNC show, Mooch and Crap, is up next at 11:45 Eastern Standard Time. So in about 26 minutes, they will go live. Check them out. And then also check out the Iron Lords podcast, which goes live as well today. So some great shows in store for everyone. And what's up, Franco? Anyhow, yeah. So I'm going to probably go play some Bloodborne right now. Try to get that platinum. Finish those dungeons. So I still haven't played Outriders, by the way. And every time I pick it up, I get in like the first couple minutes of the first mission, and I go back to Bloodborne. So I really need to get to this game because I've heard some good things about Outriders. It's a Square Enix game. What I've visually seen so far, and I haven't played a lot of it, visually it looks okay. Some of the cutscenes, I see some some issues there, like with the voice syncing's not there. Anyhow, that's probably for BRAP on Wednesday, but. Anyhow, all right, everyone, have a great Sunday. If you haven't done so, hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when BRAP goes live, and appreciate, as always, the support by everyone in the community. Thank you all so much. We'll catch you next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're out.